This morning on TSN 690, NHL insider Darren Dreger said the Habs and Oilers could maybe make a blockbuster trade involving Xavier Bourgault and Samuel Montembeault. We got to talk a lot about these potential opportunities and some other stuff that Darren Dreger said on this episode of Habs Digest. Before we get into the video, a quick reminder, hit subscribe now if you haven't already, guys. We're on the road to 10K. We love your support. Not going to harp on that. We got to get into this video. And he used the word blockbuster. That's the big thing in this. Darren Dreger used the word blockbuster, and I'd suggest you guys go have a listen. I'll link this in the description. It's a nice little 16-minute radio clip. They start talking about Toronto and some stuff at about, I think, 8-9 minutes, but the first 6-7 minutes is about what you want to listen to. Of course, Darren Dreger joins, and he says that, here's the thing. They asked him about Cayden Primeau, and he was like, well, I'm not going to say they wouldn't trade Cayden Primeau. They would, but they're not, they're just kind of a wishy-washy. But what he did say is, he said, I'm not speculating, and I know this. If the Montreal Canadiens are willing to trade Sam Montembeault, the return would be, quote, substantial. And then he said, if you're connecting the dots between the Habs and Edmonton, you're naturally going to think about Xavier Bourgault, a guy who Dreger then said, the Habs have had a historic interest in Xavier Bourgault. And let's bring up his stats. Where are they? There we go. Of course, this season he has 5 points in 11 games with the Bakersfield Condors. Last year was 34-62. He was a solid QMJHL player. He's a 21-year-old, 6-foot center forward, 22nd pick in the first round. And when I look at these stats, I wonder why he would be that one piece that you'd want instead of Sam Montembeault. I mean, the Habs, the one thing right now they have is 3 goalies, but they don't have a ton of goalie stability for the future. Jake Allen's probably going to age out sooner rather than later. Cayden Primeau, he's still rather unproven. So to move Samuel Montembeault, guy they've apparently had extension talks with, seems a little odd for me, especially if it's for someone like a Bourgault. But at the same time, Darren Dreger said the Oilers could put something more than Xavier Bourgault, and he said maybe we start with Xavier Bourgault. He's like, if it's Montembeault for Xavier Bourgault, maybe the Oilers throw in something else, maybe some draft capital, something like that. And then he said, could this turn into a bigger trade? Could this turn into a blockbuster? I don't know, right? I don't want to put... Now, he was like, I don't know if I want to use blockbuster, but he said it's possible. He's like, yeah, maybe it could be a blockbuster. And that's why the title of the title they use is blockbuster. Title I'm probably using for this video is blockbuster, because he said it could be interesting. He said maybe the Habs have some other pieces that could really help the Edmonton Oilers right now. And, I saw some people in some comments saying someone like a Jake Evans might really intrigue the Edmonton Oilers. I wouldn't want to get rid of Jake Evans. He's one of my favorite players. You guys all know that. And I know you guys all love Jake Evans too, but it's very, very interesting. So I'm going to flash up some of Monty's stats here as well. And this is the one thing that I wanted to talk about, because I saw a lot of Edmonton Oilers fans were not that high on Samuel Montembeault. But take a look at this. His goals saved above expected. It's actually 19th in the NHL, and Jake Allen right there at 22. He has some other advanced metrics that are really high up there in the NHL as well. Like Sam Montembeault, despite maybe the semi-lackluster actual counting stats that maybe might not jump off the page, especially over the last couple of years, us Habs fans who've watched the team play, no, that's not all his fault, right? And even like Jake Allen, when he gets lit up for whatever 5 goals a couple of games ago, it's like, but he was maybe the Habs' best player. It's not his fault they give up 40 shots, and a lot of the goals were tip-ins by the Boston Bruins on Saturday. Like, these guys are both really good. So I gotta ask you guys, what do you think about like a Samuel Montembeault for Xavier Bourgault plus? Do you think this is just kind of a lateral move? And I'm gonna give my thoughts. Like, leave your comment now, pause the video, let me know, and then come back. Because for me, here's the thing. I love Samuel Montembeault. I think the Habs should extend Samuel Montembeault. He is the closest thing that we have to a certainty in net, especially if you extend him for, say, 3-4 years. He is that guy who's going to be at least a 1B goalie, or like maybe at the very, very least, if the Habs get a star goalie, Montembeault was one of the best backups in the league. Like, he is legitimately a good goaltender. And he just gives that level of solidity, that level of stability back there. While there's, again, uncertainty with Allen, he's got another year left, maybe harder to move his contract. Primeau, again, 22 NHL games over the course of 4 seasons. It's still really hard to get a grasp on how good he might end up being. And while he's looked good this year, we still don't really know, right? And yes, Samuel Montembeault has been inconsistent. There was a stat card, I think, done by JFresh that showed some of Monty's stats and that they're actually quite good on the advanced metrics. But some of the places he struggles, penalty kill. I think that's more of a product from the Habs, just defense on the penalty kill than anything else. But his consistency was rated in the 0th percentile, essentially meaning that his overall performance in net really, really varies in the NHL. In fact, one of the least consistent goalies in the NHL. But again, I digress. Some of that could be noise because of the Habs, lack of defense, or this and that. But at the same time, I just feel like Xavier Bourgault, if we're transitioning to the other side of this trade, like again, this is a guy we've talked a lot about. Habs have been, he's the Oilers' #1 prospect, right? We've talked about him a lot. But as I flash the stats up again, I get it. He's from Quebec, right? He's 21 years old. He's a center. He's 6 feet tall. He's a very solid player kind of all around. And he's producing at a decent level in the AHL. But at the same time, it's like, does he really move the needle for Montreal, a team that has a lot of forward prospects that are looking to make the jump eventually too? Like, we have the likes of Owen Beck. I know he's a center. We have Joshua Waugh, and we have Philippe Méchard. I know not all centers, some wingers, whatever. But not all these guys can play center at the NHL level. Some of them will have to play wing as well. Maybe Xavier Bourgault projects to be more of a winger. We don't really know, right? And the Habs still have a good bit of center depth now. I mean, if they're looking for 2-3 years down the road, yeah, maybe Xavier Bourgault is an option. But I think they'd maybe rather focus on their own Owen Beck unless they really see Xavier Bourgault as being a big difference maker. So to me, I just feel like this is kind of strange. This is just kind of strange that Dreger was so invested in like he actually said that Ken Holland and Kent Hughes have a very good working relationship and they've talked a lot. He's like, I'm not sure if they talked in the past couple days. And another thing I wanted to talk about right now, he also said that he knows that Kent Hughes, not that he knows, that he would be extremely surprised if Hughes and Holland had already discussed the Habs taking on Jack Campbell's contract, which is another thing that we talked about in a past video. I think that would be an awful idea, and I don't think that'll ever happen. But Dreger said, he's like, I'd be surprised if they didn't at least discuss it. And apparently the Edmonton Oilers, in the past few weeks, according to Darren Dreger, there was an offer on the table involving Bourgault going to another team, and Jack Campbell was involved. But at the end of the day, the Edmonton Oilers decided to back out of the trade, saying, no, I don't think so. But he said that was a couple weeks ago. Now that they've fired their head coach, they fired Jay Woodcroft, and they've just kind of like been reorganizing the whole organization. And you watch the Oilers play, and it's the same old, same old. I mean, you have Calvin Pickard and Stuart Skinner going at it, and the team is just still not clicking at the level you want them to. Are the Oilers maybe regretting that decision? Is what he kind of said, like, do you wish you pulled the trigger on Campbell? So now the Oilers are maybe getting more desperate. There was a great article posted the other day showing that statistically, at least last season, I think there was only, as of American Thanksgiving, which is this week, last season, only 2 teams that were not in the playoff picture on American Thanksgiving ended up making the playoffs. I think one was Florida, and I think the other was Calgary or something like that. I don't remember, but it was only 2 teams in the entire NHL. I think Detroit was in and they fell out, and there was someone in the West that fell out as well. But yeah, like, it's extremely rare, at least in recent years, for a team not in the playoffs, not in the playoff picture by this time of the year, to actually make it by the end of the year. And yes, we have exceptions like the 2019 Blues, who went on to win the Stanley Cup from being last in the NHL. It's not impossible, especially when you have a team with McDavid and Draisaitl, especially if you get a huge improvement in net. Not saying it's impossible. But at the same time, you got to think the Oilers are getting a bigger sense of urgency every single day to make a move. And is that move with the Montreal Canadiens? We think it very well could be. Look, go look at the videos on our channel. We have so many talking about this potential trade. We at Habs Digest were very convinced that this could happen. And it seems like Darren Dreger is very, very convinced as well. So let us know down below. What do you think about a Xavier Bourgault plus for Samuel Montembeault trade? I'm not sold on it. I want to keep Monty, unless you get some crazy other compensation other than Bourgault. But yeah, I don't know. I just find it crazy that this blockbuster could happen. And again, he said it could spiral into something even crazier than we think with multiple pieces both sides. Who knows? All we can do is sit and wait. But oh boy, I'm sure excited to be talking about trade rumors again. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10K subs. And if you're still watching at this point, click the subscribe button. You won't regret it. Daily Habs content right here. I've been your host, Josh Gosse. I'll catch you in the next one.